Okay, it is a Thursday, August the 5th, and the main watch list I don't think has changed very much. If anything, I just made it smaller. CPSL could be a morning panic bounce play if it looks clean. It's already having a, well, it might not really be the case, but it looks like it might be trying to have a gap down. BT. It's just going to be a watch really to see how well this thing can do over time. And SAV is going to be a watch, although this one does not trade very nicely. KYNC, I'd prefer this one more. I do have new ones to look at, like here's one, LKNCY, maybe for some kind of a multi-day breakout. Although it is like a bad sushi stock, it kind of had this gap down, but you know, this thing probably has a lot of shorts inside of it, you know, ready to be squeezed in theory. And then there was another one. This one could be a morning panic bounce play just because it was up so much the other day, CLWD, but I'd have to be pretty cautious with something like this because it was only up one day, and that was like only in the afternoon. That's where I'm at the moment. Just want to take it easy. Potential morning panic bounce plays. Nothing too crazy. Alright, it is 9:51. I had two trades. One was break even, I didn't make or lose anything, and the other one was a small gain of 15 bucks here with KYNC. CLWD was the first one that I got in, and I was going for that morning panic bounce play. You know, I've said this before, but when I see like this jumpy up and down price action, although this one wasn't really like it too much, it tends to fail, and this was the case here. My entry and exit were the same. I was in the trade for like 3 minutes. Yeah, I was in the trade for 3 minutes, 41 to 44, give or take 3 minutes. It looks like it might try to turn around now, but you know, that was, again, it's not a perfect, it's not clean looking. So 941 was my entry, and that was at 282. So really not a bad entry, and really I got in because, you know, it was trading this price action, and I was thinking, okay, well, you know what, it had the spike here. If it comes back to the level, I'll be interested, I think. And then it cracked under it, then I looked at it, you know, and then I thought, okay, well, maybe I can try at 941 and, you know, 282, and I'll just risk 27. I believe, like, just risking, just if it breaks 280, or if the price action just looks really bad. And it was at 944. I think it was before it cracked to this level at 28, but I was in the trade from 941 to 944, and it just looked really bad. I can't be extremely sure when I cut and everything like that. I literally don't remember, but I do remember just not seeing the best price action. It was just looking absolutely disgusting. You know, it tried, but it was really struggling, and VWAP was right there at 30. So in theory, I'm in at 28. That's actually not bad in terms of percentage, but this thing was just looking too toppy, so I got out of the trade. Even though the volume is fading, you know, it was still downtrending, so I got out for that reason. Now it looks like it's going to turn around, at least try to turn around. This is like the first time it's had more than 3 green candles in a row, so maybe that could be a sign, but I still haven't really gotten into getting good at stuff like that. And also, this thing was only up one day, although it was a lot. It was up just one day, and it was up, you know, like in the afternoon, so it wasn't really best case scenario. So KYNC was the next trade I had, and that was a buy at 947 right here, 947, and where is it exactly here? My entry was 202. Wasn't the best entry, but I thought, okay, this might not be the best entry here at 202, but what I'm going to do is just risk if 197 gets back on the bid and it starts to get executed. So again, I was in at you know, 947 right here, 202. I did let it form a top a little bit. It could have kept going at 21. You know, obviously gold would have been VWAP at 22, and it just wasn't really doing that well. It got to 21, and then it got to 21 again, and it started downtrending. The price action looked bad, so I went ahead and I cut the trade because of bad price action. I sold at 207, and that was a small 2% gain, 15 bucks. I was trading here a $600 position, so It's fine. I mean, KYNC was very nice and clean the first 2 red days. If it's not going to do well this one, that's fine. CLWD, not a perfect, case for a morning panic bounce play because it was up a lot just one day. I was watching TXTM, but the price action was just looking iffy, and the thing was just super close to VWAP, so I never considered it. CPSL just looks weird and had that gap down, and it just looks crazy, so I never considered that either. BTBT is just a watch. I'm not really that interested in it. NSAV, it looked like it went from 1094 to 12. That's actually some good range, but this isn't really a morning panic bounce play. This was just some random trading. So yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. CLWD could downtrend more. I could try to turn around here too. I'll be interested in KYNC for a potential lower low setup, which it looks like it might try to do, but I'll be cautious because of the fact this initial one didn't really do that well. I mean, you could say it went from 19 to 21, but it would have been kind of hard just getting in right here. It failed here. It kind of failed here. You gotta be kind of cautious, I think, but we'll see. Maybe this could be a lower low setup that I can actually nail. In theory, that's all I have at the moment. I don't see anything else that was really nice. It looks like UAMM, which I wouldn't have traded, kind of did it again today, although it wasn't that nice. 35 to 37. It did have a big volume candle, but of course not being perfect. Look, here's a big volume candle. It would have been hard to get in unless you thought this was it, right? And then this one is the one where it consolidates in theory, so you get in. And then right here, it, has this quick spike and you sell into that. Maybe that would have been possible, but I would have never traded that. HPIL, I saw this one a little bit. It looks like it is trying to turn around, but sketchy sub penny stock, not really the best. And if you look at a daily chart, it could have been maybe in theory in at 49 and then sell at 50 when I'm just freaking tired of it. That's where I'm at, so I'm just gonna keep looking for setups. Maybe KYNC can make a lower low setup. Okay, it is 10:02. I hesitated and I could have been in at 188. The idea is that I could have been in here before it turned around at 188. And then I would just risk 185. If 185 starts getting executed on the bid, then I just cut the trade immediately, try to get out at 185 so I don't get in for like a day low breakdown, tsunami, whatever you want to call it. It did turn around kind of quickly here. For it to go back to the 188 level would be kind of bearish, so it looked kind of bad actually. So it looks like that guy, the big seller that was just chilling on the ask, finally got out of his shares perhaps. Maybe that was that person. Maybe not. So it's just going to be a continued watch, but I should have been better with this. I could try like another buy and then like risk 19. So if 19 starts getting executed, I can get out, because then in theory it should be putting up a little bit of a higher uptrend from this low range right here at 185. Could have been again at 188. I guess gold would still be VWAP, and the only thing I didn't like about it is that it didn't drop that much lower from the initial morning panic bounce play. So I have to take that in mind, but this thing in theory could work out really nicely. I shouldn't have hesitated right there. I want to see what would have been the risk reward anyway. So 188, that's a $376 position, and if I got out at 185, I literally missed out on this trade for $6, and that's kind of pathetic. So I need to get better at less hesitation. Maybe I need to find out quicker what my risk reward is, because even if this thing fails, I probably should have been in this setup, because it is a lower low setup. Even if it's not exactly the way I want it, it still made a lower low. Okay, it is 10:17. I think at some point it could do the inverse head and shoulders, but it's taking a really long time, and I don't regret really messing it unless it goes to like 28 or something. But I did try another buy with KYNC at 10:10. So where was it? Right here, 10:10. And here was my idea. I had this thing at 191, which was the bid, not the ask, because I was thinking, okay, well, what I could do here is I could take a buy, inverse head and shoulders potential, shoulder head shoulder. Here's 1010. I'm gonna take a buy at 191, and I'm gonna risk like 19 breaking. So if 19 breaks and we get into the 8-9s, 8-8s, 8-7s, I'm gonna be you know, in a hurry to get out of the trade and cut it right there for a tiny loss, because you know, I got as close as I could to 19, which is 19.1. Of course 19 will be closer, but that's even scarier because you're right at the level. It might just crack it then and there at the same minute you're in. So that was the idea here, and you know, it's trading back and forth, but there has been like a very large seller on the ask that would appear with like 4 million shares, 2 million shares, and then the number would change, right? But then it would just come back, and then it would drop down to a lower number. So I don't know what's going on with that, but it's definitely impacting this pattern. It's making it take longer than it should. If it is going to work out now, it could totally fail, crack 19, and just, I don't know, maybe just consolidate here forever. Probably not, but the fact of the matter is that it's definitely struggling for a potential inverse head and shoulders. It could still do it. I'm not saying it can't, but you know, had I been here at 1010, I probably would have lost my patience by now, you know, and try selling at this 194 level, even like right before it could potentially crack and hit 196. You know, that would totally be fine. CPSL looks like spaghetti. It did kind of have a drop here with big volume, but I wouldn't have traded that. Again, it doesn't look nice. CLWD, it did a higher low. That's cool. Yeah, that's not bad. 26 to 27. Maybe this thing can still uptrend towards VWAP, but it looks like it trades with an ugly spread, which is never nice. And on top of that, it's not the perfect setup. You know, it could do it, but yeah, it does trade with a large spread. TXTM, nothing. I'm gonna remove it. You know, it's just not that nice looking. BTBT, nice, is doing an uptrend. I did think maybe inverse head and shoulders. It didn't really form one here. Nice run here. Is trying to re-break the high from yesterday at what, 13? What was the high? The high was 1358, so that's cool. NSAV, nothing here. I guess a dip towards V1, but it's not really uptrending anymore. It's kind of just being sketchy. So I'll make an update to see if this thing eventually works out. If I had to guess, yes. I've seen some of these that have a really wide shoulder and it eventually breaks it, especially if the reason why it doesn't is because there's a big seller on the ask and he eventually gets taken out. We actually have 197 here at the ask, so this in theory could be it. It could run towards VWAP. Yeah, I would have had to have been in at 1010, and I would have had to have held all the way for like, you know, 11 minutes. And that's doesn't seem like much, but for me it seems like a long time, especially like here when it hits 190 again. I'll make an update to see how well this thing does. I don't regret missing this one because it wasn't perfect. It took a long time. There was a big seller on the ask constantly at the bid, and maybe now that he got taken out, you know, it can do the uptrend now. So that's cool. I'll make an update to see how high this thing can go. Okay, it is 11:05 a.m. and I had just one tiny, super tiny, sneaky trade with Robinhood, and the idea was this. I was going for inverse head and shoulders. It kind of turned around and I wasn't really there when it was doing it, but this one was nice because it went from 61 to 64.50. That actually had like some nice range, at least I think, for a listed stock and everything like that. Shoulder, head, shoulder, and then I thought, okay, maybe it's the second higher low setup. Maybe I'll try it, but if I'm gonna try it, I'm gonna try a small size. And you know, listed stocks, they kind of have a lot of range. They trade like with, sometimes they have huge wicks and something crazy like that. So I thought, what would be a level of this second higher low setup right here that would signify that this thing is not going to work? So I thought 62.35 is a level, because if it drops that low, it might round off there, but at that point it's definitely going to break this level right here, which would mean the setup is not good. It's not going to play out. And then, you know, if it gets below 62.35, which is VWAP, you know, then it could still be a higher low from this shoulder, but it would be so close it wouldn't even be worth it. And after the trade, I realized that this thing could have been a short too, because this was like a VWAP confirmed breakdown, something that Tim Linton went over, like, I don't know, months ago on one of his webinars, where it breaks VWAP, it kind of comes back, tries to hold above it, topping action's not able to do it, and then it rips under VWAP. That could be a setup too, so in theory this could have been a short too, and I was going for a long. The short setup would have worked better. It's not like I could have shorted this out of curiosity. Is Robinhood even shortable on Schwab? It's not shortable on Schwab. Okay, so yeah, that could have been the other setup too. So I went in at 62.80, 1051 when it was starting to, right about here, 1051. This green candle, 62.80. Just, well, one, just so tiny, just like one share. $62 position. Well, 63 if you want to round up. I sold at 54 because there was just some topping action. I didn't like it. I was happy that it broke past this 635 level, but it only went just a little bit higher. So, you know, I just thought, all right, let me, you know, there was a wall of sells at 63.40, so I thought, let me just put a sell order at 63.40, and I just happened to get executed right here in this little tiny wick where it went as high as 63.45. It was like, you know, the big little wick to, you know, just to squeeze some scared shorts out of their shares or whatever, and then it just headed down. Now it's at 61.42, so $2 lower. This is no longer a, you know, inverse head and shoulder second higher low, because it's supposed to be a higher low. This is a double bottom. It can bounce, sure, it can be a higher low from here, right? And this could have been just a tiny part of the uptrend before it makes the higher low here. That's totally possible, but I was going for a second higher low because this one initially looked very nice. I don't regret the trade. It was a profitable trade, just a tiny profitable trade, right under 1%. 60 cents. I made 60 cents. And I don't think I'm going to trade anything else today. I have a ridiculous amount of orders to catch up with. I'm actually surprised and thankful, but also just surprised at how much work I have to do. So KYNC isn't looking that nice anymore. It didn't really do it. I mean, it got to 203, 204, if you want to count that wick there. It's just chilling there. Now, this thing can totally get past VWAP and then make an uptrend. I think NSAV did that yesterday. Yeah, you see, kind of, but I guess NSAV looked a bit nicer. I mean, NSAV was trading at VWAP, but then it officially broke out of it. Well, KYNC is still under it right here, and then it could eventually break past this range, maybe at 20, and then make a run for 21 and make a nice uptrend. That can happen. I would like that to happen, because then this thing can have more room. You know, it can have more uptrending price action, so that then it can do another morning panic bounce play, and it's not so, you know, low in the chart at you know, a daily chart. CPSL, I just see the sketchiness. This one turned out to be the bottom. This was a late, you know, this would have been super late, super sketchy, not perfect. Wouldn't have really traded it, I think. CLWD, to my surprise, is probably the healthiest one. It put up a higher low, got past VWAP, 26 to 29, it got as high as 31. This one was the healthiest out of all of them, but this initial thing that I traded here was not good. BTBT is uptrending. That's nice. It did do a follow-up breakout past that 1380 level. It's barely holding it, but it's holding it. And NSAV is just chilling. That's all I got. I'll probably make an update later, maybe when the markets are closed, but I don't see anything that I'm interested in. I'll take one look to see if there's any first day green day LTCs that I might like, but there's probably no more setups or trades today. Okay, it is 4:58 p.m. and I'm just here to call it off to see what this thing has done since. KYNC, it's very hard for a stock to drop gradually. Now, if it has a gap down, then something else, like some kind of bad news or some kind of, you know, rejection or something like that. But for something to actually downtrend, and not just downtrend, start with a gap up, right? Yeah, this thing not just dropped 45% on the day, it also had a gap up, so it was up even more than the other day, right? Previous close was 237 and opens at 28. So it's not just up on the day, it goes down, it goes red, and it goes 45% on the day. That is incredible. This is why you cut losses quickly. I'm not, maybe 2015 me when I was first trying might have been this dumb. Not completely dumb to hold it towards the very end of the day or something like that, but this is why you cut losses quickly. My trade was right here, didn't work out that nicely. I still made money from KYNC. This would have been a better short. Wow, I just can't believe it. It just fell so harshly. It never touched a VWAP the entire day except for the very beginning when it wasn't even a morning panic bounce setup. That's absolutely atrocious. CLWD, I traded break even, got in and out at 282, 941 to 944, and that was me trading this jumbly mess right here, right? And then it was just being all iffy with these tiny candles. The price action was looking bad. I cut it. It did get as low as 262, but I'm gonna guess it traded with a large spread, 27 to 29. That's not bad, but I think this thing trades with a large spread when it was back here, so that would have been very hard to get into. And then it did do a higher low here. It did uptrend. What is this? 26 to 31. That's very nice, but this is some sketchy price action. I might rewatch it with Thinkorswim, the on-demand thing, and see how this price action was and learn from it. But if I had to guess, it just traded with low volume, a large spread, but it did do better. A lot of things did better than KYNC. CPSL eventually turned around here. I saw this movement here. It turned out to turn around here, 39 to 43, which is nice, but look how ugly it looks. Maybe I could have traded it, but I don't regret that. NSAV tried to do, I didn't see this before. It tried to do like some late afternoon tsunami type panic. I was thinking it could do something like that. That's incredible. It went from, 1 to, oh, well, I guess this thing, yeah, it went from, wow. Yeah, it went from like, I guess the range is not that nice, honestly. Almost a penny difference. Yeah, not that much range. Not clean looking. BTBT, I'm really happy to see this in the 15s. If I see something like this again in the future, I'll be more inclined to trade something like this for a swing trade. And I traded Robinhood, tiny size. In theory, if I were, to cut losses quickly at that, what was it, that price level at 35, and I was in at 62.80, I was risking like 50 cents. I could have traded a $600 position. I could have traded 10 shares and risk, $5. I could have done that. That wouldn't have been hard. I don't want to risk 50, but I'll risk 5, and that would have turned that 60-cent gain to $6, which would have been cool. But I don't regret it. I'm very happy that I tried pushing myself for the second higher low setup back here. That did not work, but I'm happy to see this inverse head and shoulders did work here. It's downtrending. This would be hard for it to do some kind of a breakout like BTBT. It technically already did it back here in the 40s. So this is nice. Another example of listed stocks being very nice, although very choppy. If it's a swing trade for some kind of breakout like that, I don't see why I can't push myself to do something like that. And I've seen a lot of great examples. So that's all I got. I think I finished what? Yeah, $15.60 on the day. Not really bad. Actually did pretty well, I think. Cut losses because the price action was sketchy here with CLWD looking ugly. KYNC, it did form a top first before I sold. It could have kept going, but the price action was not looking that nice. And it saved me from a lot of pain and losses had I been some crazy bag holder, but I didn't do that. Instead, I sold for a small profit. The position size wasn't that bad at all. I think that feels good for what it was at the time. That's all I got. I just need to keep studying and pushing myself further.